Okay, let's dive in. Imagine this. A kingdom just plunged into darkness. Its royal line nearly wiped out by a ruthless queen.
Yeah, that's ancient Judah under Queen Athaliah, a really unstable, frightening time.
But even then, you get this spark, this act of courage that just flips everything on its head.
Exactly. And that's what we're exploring today in this deep dive to Chronicles 23. We're looking at how this really bold act of obedience, driven by faith, rescued a young king and brought back godly leadership.
Right, using the biblical account as our guide. And our mission really is to see how this ancient story, still speaks to us, how it encourages obedience and maybe strengthens our own faith today.
Absolutely. So let's get into it.
Okay, so the heart of this is a little boy, Joash. He's the rightful heir, David's line. But Athaliah tries to kill off the whole family when she grabs power.
It's brutal, but somehow Joash is saved, snatched away and hidden. For 6 years.
6 years? That's amazing. Who hit him?
It was Jehoiada, the priest, and his wife Jehoshaphat. She was actually royalty herself, which likely helped. But think about the risk they took.
Huge risk. Hiding the one person Athaliah wanted dead most.
Exactly. It's this incredible act of, well, faith and quiet obedience, hiding him in the temple, trusting God's promise about David's line. It's easy to overlook that hidden faithfulness, but it was crucial.
So this quiet protection goes on for 6 years, and then something changes. Year 7.
Yeah, Jehoiada decides it's time. He doesn't just, sit back. He starts organizing.
Yeah.
Very strategically.
He gathers leaders, military guys, Levites.
Commanders of hundreds, Levites from all over Judah. The text even names some of them Azariah, son of Jeroham, Ishmael, son of Jehonan, several key figures. He brings them into a covenant, a secret agreement.
Sounds like a proper operation.
Yeah.
What was the plan?
It was detailed. Secure the temple gates, guard the king, protect him within the sacred space. He used both the religious authority of the Levites and the strength of the military commanders. It shows real leadership, real moral courage, acting on what's right, even though it's dangerous.
Okay, so the plan is set. Then comes the big reveal, right? Bringing Joash out.
Yes. They gather everyone at the house of God, the temple. They make this covenant with the young king, Joash. And they declare, the king's son shall reign, just as God promised for David's descendants.
Imagine that moment. Bringing out this hidden boy.
And then the ceremony, placing the crown on his head, handing him the testimony of the law, anointing him with oil.
And the shout goes up.
God save the king! Trumpets, singing, celebration. It must have been electric. A total shift for the nation. Public proof that God's promise holds.
You can almost hear the relief, the joy.
Definitely a powerful moment of unity and purpose.
But obviously, not everyone was celebrating. Athaliah hears all this commotion.
Right. She hears the noise, the people running and praising the new king. She rushes to the temple.
And she sees Joash standing there, crowned by the pillar like the custom was.
She immediately understands, rips her clothes and screams, treason! Treason!
What does Jehoiada do? This must have been tense.
He's prepared. He orders the commanders, take her out. But importantly, don't kill her in the house of the Lord. Keep the temple holy.
So they take her away from the temple grounds.
Exactly. They escort her out, and she's executed at the entrance of the horse gate near the king's palace. A very decisive end to her rule.
Wow, so Athaliah is dealt with, but the restoration isn't finished, is it? Jehoiada does more.
No, it's deeper than just removing the old ruler. He makes another covenant. This one's interesting. It's between himself, all the people, and the king. A commitment that they would be the Lord's people.
A national recommitment, basically.
Pretty much. And it leads to immediate action. The people go straight to the temple of Baal.
The false god they'd been worshiping under Athaliah?
Yes. And they tear it down, smash the altars, the images. They even kill Matan, the priest of Baal, right there in front of his own altars.
That's a very strong statement. Wiping the slate clean.
It really is. It shows that true renewal involves getting rid of the false before you can fully embrace the true. And then Jehoiada focuses on restoring proper worship.
Back to the temple of the Lord.
Right. He sets up the offices, the roles for the priests and Levites, just as David had organized and as the law of Moses required, appointing people for burnt offerings, for singing, for guarding the gates.
Making sure everything's done right according to God's instructions, even keeping the unclean out.
Precisely. Order and holiness restored. And the result. The text says the city was quiet and the people rejoiced. Peace finally returned after Athaliah's death.
It's such a complete turnaround. So, thinking about this today, what can we take away from Jehoiada and this whole story?
Well, one thing is definitely Jehoiada's quiet faithfulness in protecting Joash for all those years. It's a powerful picture of nurturing potential, right? Protecting something precious, like we might protect a child or a new believer or even an idea God gave us before it's ready to be revealed.
That quiet faithfulness alongside the later bold action. It's not always about the big public move immediately.
Exactly. And then there's his courage, his moral courage to act when the time was right, even with the risks. It challenges us, I think, to consider where we need to act on what we know is right, even if it feels difficult or, scary.
And the tearing down of Baal's temple, how does that connect?
Well, we might not have literal Baal temples, but we all have potential idols, don't we? Things that take first place instead of God. Maybe it's greed or pride, or maybe just compromising our integrity.
Yeah, things that clutter up our hearts.
Right. And this story suggests that real worship, real connection with God sometimes requires us to actively, tear those things down in our own lives,
Yeah.
to clean house spiritually.
That makes sense. And what about the covenant aspect?
That three-way covenant is key.
Yeah.
It reminds us faith isn't just personal, is it? It's also about our relationship with God and our connection and accountability within a community of faith. We're in this together.
So it's about community, responsibility.
And ultimately, hope. I mean, look how dark things were under Athaliah. It seemed like God's promise might fail. But through the courage and obedience of faithful people working together, God brought about restoration. It tells us that even after really dark times, renewal is possible.
That's a powerful takeaway. That God really can use ordinary people, their obedience, their courage, to do extraordinary things and keep his promises.
Yeah.
This whole account, it feels like, can definitely push us towards deeper obedience and trust.
Absolutely. Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you listening.
Yeah.
Considering Jehoiada's courage, his decisive action for what was right,
Right.
what situation, maybe in your own life, your community, your work, where might God be calling you to step into with that kind of faith and boldness, even if it feels risky?